Now it's recording. I wanted to see what it looks like, and I'm curious if I will be able to read comments should I go live. And I believe I can because the camera right up there is very low, but I am able to read a little bit. Um, so I may try to do that here in a second. And seems like Frugal let me know that the shirt is just about dead, and she said, "I ripped that off. Don't you have a better shirt to go out to eat in?" I said, "Well, yeah. I didn't know the holes was there." This shirt is probably 25 years old. I can't remember how long, many moons ago it was that I was in Daytona Beach, Florida. Uh, I drove out there with a friend of mine, and I didn't leave anything in Florida, so it's not like my favorite state. And people say, "You just didn't go to the right places. I went to the beach." So I don't know what other places they're talking about. A few weeks after we left, when getting there, it was kind of wild. Got into the hotel room, and I turned on the TV because we had driven in some wind and rain, and some stuff was going on behind us, but I wasn't paying it that much mind. I'm looking forward to going to the room. And yeah, I get in the room, and I'm looking at it, and it's talking about this tornado. That tornado was literally right on our butt. It was right behind us. All that destruction and stuff was happening. So, you guys remember Magoo, the guy that drove the blinder, and he was wreaking havoc behind him all the time. I didn't cause the tornado there in Florida, but it makes me think of for whatever reason. Anywho's, went to the beach, sat in water about like that, and that water, oh my gosh, that water is so powerful. It was like the power of God, right? You're sitting there, and you know how the ruffles are as the water rushes up to shore, like that. Well, I walked out, and I was sitting in water just like that, sitting there, and the waves would come in and just hit with so much force. It would make my body do this. It would send me back up. Crazy. And that is one of the times that I absolutely felt the power of our Lord. That's massive. And I wasn't in here as heavy then as I am today, but it was still, that was a lot. I wasn't a skinny mini. And it was just boom, 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 boom. Crazy. And I got the giggles. I laughed and was just in awe of his power. Um, it was so cool. While I'm on the subject of talking about God, there was another time, a couple of times that I had felt him. One time was in the first time I went to the Grand Canyons, and there was a feeling that just enveloped my whole body before I actually saw the canyon. You could feel the power and the awe of whatever it was I was getting ready to see. And once I saw that huge opening in the mountains and that big crater, what is known as the Grand Canyon, I was in awe again of our Creator. I mean, if you've never felt that, I'm sorry for you because that is one of the most awesomest feelings in the world. I was in New Orleans one time with my mom, and I don't know, probably about 12 years old. Um, and we were going through this one cemetery where they have the big vaults, the concrete vaults that the caskets and things are in. Some of those places have flooded because New Orleans floods, and casket the water has been so powerful that it's opened some of those mausoleum doors, and caskets have floated out, and then you have volunteers and stuff, and they get everything back in the right order, hopefully. Um, you may be going and kneeling down and praying for Aunt Betty, and it could be Uncle Bud, who knows? But anyway, so I'm thinking they probably get that right. Um, we there was a hearse, a glass hearse that gets pulled by a horse, and I, in my mind's eye, it was either a black horse or a white horse, or maybe both. That I could visualize that. And we went into this church. Well, we'd been told, or maybe there was a plaque there. I can't remember now. I think we'd been told that there were some past uh, Catholic priests that had been buried under the pulpit there. And whether that's true or not, I don't know, and I don't remember actually that part. What I do remember is walking in that foyer. When you walk in, the doors are massive. I remember they were so tall. It's this feeling. Hello, Redbird. Uh, Cardinal in the yard. Come on. Um, I was talking about you. Anyway, we were standing there, and the door was closing. I said there was tall doors. In the cathedral, it was just massive in there. But we're standing in the foyer, and all of a sudden, I couldn't move. There was something that came like through the bottom of my feet into my whole body. I've not ever, ever since then even felt as clean as I did that day. It was like it washed everything in me that was dirty out. That was the most wonderful, beautiful feeling ever. And I remember looking up at my mom. My mom is 5'2", 5'2.5". She tried to push 5'3". I think she said she was 5'3". Anyway, I looked up at her and I said, "Did you feel that?" And she looked at me and I don't know if she did or didn't. I'm going to say that she did. I'm not going to question that, but I don't know. We were leaving there and I don't remember much else. It's like I was floating. I was free. I was free from the abuse that had felt as a child, not from my parents, but I was clean. And then life happens. As we get older and we go through the trucks of time, and I'm learning, still learning on my journey, how sneaky and tricky the devil is. He can make some things look really, really wonderful, like they're heaven sent. He would know. But as you get older and wiser, you realize these things aren't. And you learn discernment and realize that some of the things you've enjoyed and done were wrong. And so therefore you get filled with that uncleanliness sometimes. I don't know if anybody else ever thinks about that. Maybe, I'm guessing. But it does cross my mind, and not maybe not as much as it should. But you just feel unclean about some stuff. I know there's people out there that felt unclean just by being around a certain person or whatever. In passing or someone you actually know. And it's that kind of feeling. You just feel yucky. I was talking to one of my abusers a few weeks ago. And I know that who he is with used to be, and I'm guessing that she still is, a believer. And I think he kind of foo-fooed it off, shoo-shooed it away for himself. But anyway, I was talking to him. And I'm always praying that God will lead me to say the right things to someone when he wants me to say it. And I try to pray about it in advance, but sometimes things just happen and I'm not praying and asking God for guidance and how to say something. And maybe I reverted back to being a child, a young child. And they say out of the mouth of babes comes words of wisdom. And we know I'm old enough. Know I'm old enough that I'm not a baby. So, but anyway, with that being said, I told him, I said, I'm in a place today when I found God and I asked to have a relationship with Him, I said, I am more happy today than I have ever been in my entire life. Now, I've felt joy and I have felt happiness with people around, but nothing like what God could give me. And God's not ever going to walk away from me. Even at times when I thought that He had. I had time to reflect on a lot of things. That's what being out there as a nomad can do for you. Gives you time to see things. And everybody is on their own journey. And it's real hard not to, I don't want to say judge, but I think we do. I think we do judge people. And we don't mean to. I don't think it's an intentional thing. But I don't know it all. And like I said, everybody's going through their own thing. And if they're going through some stuff that, they want to talk about or whatever, backslide, I'll listen. It's not my place to tell you what to do or how to do it. But if God puts something on my heart for me to say to someone, He'll give me a way to say it, and I will. People was like, I'm avoiding you because you have to start talking Jesus to me. I'm not a Bible thumper, and I'm not trying to be that way. And if there's an opportunity for me to talk about God, I sure will, every chance I get. But a lot of times I'm in places that opportunity doesn't happen. I've talked to people about God in bars, and I was told many, many, many years ago that I should not ever do that. You don't talk politics and you don't talk bar. You don't talk Jesus about God in the bar. I beg to differ with you on that. And I might not talk politics. I don't like talking politics anyway. But I will talk about God because sometimes He puts things on your heart and it's just coming out of your mouth. And I know this to be a true story because it happened to me in a bar called the Neon Moon. Guy was in there. He was drinking. He was lost in his drink. And he stopped me as I asked him how he was. And he says, just losing it. He had no peace. He was in agony, just in agony within himself on his journey. And his heart. He'd lost his wife, his kid. And he was just lost. But he said, you always are so cheerful. Up be bopping around. He said, do you work in the bar? And I said, no. He said, you look like one of the employees because you're always helping people. You're always so nice. And I said, yeah, I like to help out when they get hammered, I said, there's certain things that I can do. The only thing I'm allowed to do behind the bar is, wash the mugs out and get them back on so they're nice cold for your beer. He was drinking whiskey. And the next thing I know, God stuff started coming out of my mouth. I didn't plan on that. Wasn't my next thought at all. That's still as strange to me as it is to you if you're hearing this for the first time, because back then I hadn't asked to really have a relationship with Him. I believed in God. I've always believed, but I hadn't asked to have a relationship with Him. And I've thought about that night, many a night. The next day, I went by there. I was going to eat in the restaurant, and I went by to see the morning staff, the bartender that morning, because I hadn't seen her in a while. And we were talking. She goes, there was a gentleman that bought you a drink. And she goes, he's got a tab form for you over here. Bought you a drink. The police said, she just bought me a drink. Other people that bought me drinks, but the ladies knew a lot of times that I wasn't drinking, so they'd make me. People won't talk to you a lot of times if you're not drinking. So they'd make me a soda and a cola or something to make it look like I was drinking something with a lime or lemon or something on it. And then people will talk to you. Anyway, she said he left a message for you. He'd come in that morning on her shift, not the nighttime bartender. And he said, I need you to tell her thank you so much that she opened up a place in my heart that hadn't been touched in a long time. I remember telling him that night because he asked me, he said, are you a believer? And I said, I am, I believe. And he said, you've given me. I said, I don't know where that came from. I said, that was not my next thought to talk to you about at all. I said, that was all God. I said, I have to give him the glory on that. I didn't do it. I said, that was God talking to you through me. It had nothing to do with me other than he used me for that moment. So wherever that man is, if you happen to see this video, I pray that the glory of God is shining through you and that you've been able to touch others through that. Well, this just did a whole about face, didn't it? Trying to do this video. Anyway, I stumble. I stumble every day. I get up and the first thing I do is try to look at my Bible app on my phone. And I was asked, I quit posting on Instagram. I used to do a daily deal and I quit posting. Had a few people looking at it, liked it or whatever, and you don't have to like it, just not that many people are talking about it or that's not even what I'm trying to say. It's just, there's people that don't want to see it every day. And I guess if you unfollow me for those things, it's okay too. That's on you, it's not on me. Anyway, I quit posting every day. And I was posting my other pictures that I take of flowers and plants and weird bugs or whatever. I've been playing with that mackerel and I really like playing with that. Um, anyway, I had two people message me that I've never met in person. Follow them, they follow me. And they said, I really miss those daily quotes that you used to put up there. She goes, you have no way of knowing how much they've touched me. So again, God was using me and I didn't see it. What a blessing. What a blessing. I feel so blessed that he uses me for his good. Even when I mess up, he's going to use it for something, for somebody's positive, for somebody's good, and to teach me something sometimes. Lord knows I've been hard-headed all my life. You know, when you get older, you just start slowing down with some things and have more time to think and actually see things that you wouldn't normally see or you didn't see. You get so busy in your day-to-day life when you're working at 8 to 5, Uh, sure, I went to church back in the day, but what I started learning is I guess I was growing. Didn't even realize it at the time was that after church services, it seems like it was Friday night out. It was a social gathering, but people were trying to hook up. And the elders of the church, I witnessed it one night. There were some new people coming in. I guess they were looking for other people in the deacons and things in the church to greet and meet. But there's one couple that came in there, they had a little money, and they could have helped the church financially, but they weren't greeted very well. I stood back and watched it. I wasn't as verbal as I am today back then. I'm more verbal today than I've, as far as trying to reach out and touch someone and not, uh, I guess, with strangers. Someone says I've never met a stranger, but maybe that's true. But working for the band, doing their stuff, selling their merchandise has helped me. Um, get over some things too. Because I am, most of y'all, if you know me, you wouldn't believe it, but I am shy. And I hide behind it by talking to others. I always figure if I'm uncomfortable in the situation, somebody else probably is too, so I can strike up a conversation. And if I don't strike up one, others have, struck up conversations with me. And that's kind of cool too, most of the time. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes I'm like, I'm backpedaling. I want to get away from here. I think we've all been in that situation too. Squirrels are out playing. I wish I could flip the computer around, just click it. But I just realized there's not a camera on the back, so I cannot do that. Anyway, thank you guys for coming along and having a morning, listening to my morning chat, whatever it was. Uh, Hopefully it touched you. Thank you for being here. Peace, love, big hugs. Y'all be good out there.